Hello again, and thanks for coming back to another Writerly Witterings, which this time is all about The Bishop Must Die, which is an imaginative name because it's all about a bishop and various people who think he ought to be dead. Imaginative, I know. One of those very confusing little books where, for the very first time, I had a different copy editor for a certain amount, for a short period, and he put the author's note at the back of the book. So it confused me. Still, never mind. Whole story, in a nutshell, Bishop Walter Stapeldon. It's about his life. Bishop Stapleton was a delightful character. He was one of the thugs who, after the death of Henry Raleigh, went to the Dominicans in Exeter and beat up some of the Dominican friars, broke a load of the displays they had in their chapel, and took the body of Henry de Raleigh and all the hearse, the clothing, the wax for the candles, everything that was there for the funeral, and took it back to Exeter Cathedral, because Exeter Cathedral had a complete monopoly on burials and celebrating death. So once they'd taken the body back, they'd gone through all the process, they kept the wax, the candles, the money and everything, and then contacted the Dominicans and said, come and pick up your body. And they said, well, we don't want it, you can keep it. And the dear old cathedral canons with Walter Stapeldon said, well, we don't want him. So they sent the body back to the Dominicans, who closed their gates against the canons, preventing them taking the body in. So the body was dumped unceremoniously outside the Dominicans' main gate for 3 days in the middle of the summer. This wasn't nice. So in the end, slightly embarrassed, the canons went and took the body back to the cathedral. That's the sort of guy Stapleton was. He was very determined to enforce what he saw as his rights and his liberties, or those of the cathedral, or those of the see when he was a bishop. But Devon loved Stapleton. Stapleton was absolutely devoted to his county. He was born in Devon. He spent a lot of time travelling all over the county, looking at the different churches, looking at the quality of his priests, making sure that youngsters were being brought on board. He would have a look at all the kids as he went around, and if he saw kids that seemed particularly bright, even if they were from very poor parents, he would take them in and get them educated so that they'd be priests in the future. And he was so committed, in fact, he set up schools all over Devon and Cornwall. One of them still going down at Ashburton. He also thought that when the kids had gone through school they still need more education, so he set up a college at Oxford, called originally Stapleton College, although now it's called Exeter College. So he was a dashed good fellow, is what they reckoned. And of course in London they absolutely hated him, because King Edward II had a bit of a barney with London for a number of reasons, and so he decided he was going to make life for the Londoners a bit more difficult. So he started a grand inquiry into all the customs and privileges of London. Great fun, he thought. We must be able to get some money out of this. And the person who was the Lord High Treasurer of the time was Walter Stapeldon. Now, it's a generally known fact that any politician who gets to be made Chancellor of the country is not greatly loved then on. And Stapleton certainly wasn't by the people of London, and in fact he had to escape London, do a runner. But he was still a popular person. He's the guy who, as you will have read in the King of Thieves, for example, in the Temple of the Queen and her lover, it was he that went out to France. In King of Thieves, it was he who was sent to guard the young prince when he was taken to France. And he suffered a bit for that and had to run from France and get back to England for his own safety. That's all true. Unfortunately, he then went on to have some other problems. I won't tell you the end of the story because that would be a bit of a giveaway. However, it's true to say that he was hated by a lot of people in the country, and one of the reasons was he was a close friend of Hugh le Despencer, Sir Hugh, who was not a nice man, as you'll have guessed if you read any of my other books. And because he was so closely aligned with Hugh, several people started court cases against him. Most of them couldn't succeed, but it seems as though he was quite keen on the idea of getting money when he could. Now, bearing in mind he had a ruddy great cathedral to build, that's probably not surprising, but even so, the way he went about getting money wasn't necessarily the most honourable fashion, let's say. But I still like old Walter Stapeldon. He was a character that I enjoyed writing about, and I certainly enjoyed finding out all about his history. He was a man of his time. He was very bright, he was very learned, he was a shrewd politician, he was very good to the people that he thought were part of his loyal tribe, the people of Devon and Cornwall. He worked very hard, and he tried to leave a better country when he left. A fascinating bloke, and a really interesting book because it follows a lot of his later life. So I can heartily recommend this book to you now. I hope you enjoy it. And now I'm going back to my cup of tea. Don't forget, if you want to leave comments, they go down the bottom here. If you'd like to like it, there's a tick box or a thing like that. And don't forget you can subscribe and share and do all those other wonderful things. And meantime, you can follow me on Twitter. I apologise for the dog. I was advised to get some nasal strips to put on her nose, but I don't think she'd approve, so I didn't take you up on that advice, Paul. But thanks for the thought.